It's never easy to go through a major life change, from kids growing up and moving out of the house to getting a divorce to retiring from a job. Transitions are hard. And when someone close to you faces a big change, you want to help them the very best you can. So in today's Girlfriend Guide, we're sharing some ways to offer support during those major life changes. Kelly Jensen knows a thing or two about change. She's experienced some really big ones herself recently, bravely and full of heart. And she is here today to give us the confidence we need to reach out to our own friends no matter what life throws at them. Studio 5 contributor Kelly Jensen joining me in studio with a few insights. How are you, sister?
Medium.
Good answer. Can I borrow that?
Yes.
Medium.
We'll make ourselves t-shirts.
So throw yourself into this topic a little bit. You've been so brave to share bits and pieces of your family transition right now online. It's a hard one.
It is. And we have a big family, 5 kids, and my husband and I both have big families, so a large extended family. So we've gone through quite a few transitions. And one thing I've learned is, like, you never know what you're gonna need and how much the kindness can impact you. We just sent my son off on a 2-year church mission, and he is, as you know, a massive part of our family. We are just missing him terribly. So I'm hoping that in this we can kind of give some ideas, some little ways that we can help each other out during those times.
Because you're not alone, and this time of year brings so much change, from church service missions to school to empty nesthood to all of the other scenarios that I described when we said hello at the onset of this conversation. They're big, they're challenging, and I think from the outside there's a challenge there as well. Like, you're watching your friend go through this, your girlfriend go through this, and you're kind of tap dancing and shuffling on the sidelines like, what can I do? Put me in, where can I go?
I know. It's so true. And honestly, like I said, you don't know. Your heart is stretched so much and you feel every bit of impact. So some of the things that I'm going to say today are things that I have experienced very recently and honestly saved me. So the first one I would say is be on the front lines of your girlfriend's life. And what I mean by that is, what are her daily responsibilities? What are the things that she's carrying as she goes, whether it's dinners or her children or when my husband was in the hospital for a few weeks, I had some friends text me and just say, send us your kids' schedules. And then they organized themselves and they took my kids on their carpools. They took them to the farm. They took them to their favorite restaurants like McDonald's. And then they sent me pictures. And sitting with my husband when he was so sick, the peace of mind I had from that kindness was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. Meal organization is always so helpful, but I had one thing that my girlfriend Brittany did for me recently that I'll never forget.
What's that?
So she called me. We raised our kids together in California years and years ago, and our oldest were really good friends. So she's just a month ahead of me in sending her son off. She gave me a call and she said, Kelly, I don't want you to argue with me. And mind you, I don't see her very often at all. She says, I don't want you to argue with me, but I'm running your kitchen at your farewell, which is a big party send-off that you have where all your friends come and family and say goodbye to your son that's leaving. And I said, no, I can do it. She said, I knew you'd say that. You think you can do it. You know too many people. Your mom thinks she can do it. She knows too many people. Same with your neighbors. She's like, I'm coming from the outside. Leave me instructions and I'll do it. And I said, well, I have some girlfriends who said they'd help. She's like, send me their numbers. They left the meeting a little bit earlier. There was like 8 of them. They put the food in the oven. They unwrapped the salads and fluffed them. They put everything out. And by the time I got to my house, the whole thing was underway. I had planned for double the amount of people that day. We were out of every stitch of food, every paper plate, and I never felt it. I never felt 1 ounce of pressure that day. I stood by my son as he hugged everyone goodbye. I hugged people. I felt so much gratitude for that. And now I want to just say, like, I'm on your kitchen staff. Like, that was one of the most meaningful things in the world. And that could be done for weddings, work meetings, funerals, anything, birthday parties, and just be the kitchen staff, be on that front line and carry some of the brunt of these responsibilities.
Here's 2 takeaways I skimmed from that beautiful example, and I felt just the heart and the meaning behind what you shared. One is the everyday dailies become extra heavy during hard stuff. So those everyday dailies matter, right? The carpool and the grocery and all of that matters. That's a huge weight lifted.
That's what you're valuing. What you're doing in your daily life is what you value. So what is more impactful than lifting some of that off their plate?
I also heard you echo a lesson that I learned years ago in a very poignant way that I don't have time to share, but it's this idea that if you have to ask, what can I do? You're already too late. Don't you love the girlfriends that not just put her foot in the door, but throw the door open
Absolutely.
and charge right in.
Absolutely, and I've seen that time and time again. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. It's my personality. Like, I can do it, and the truth is I probably can. But when somebody says, I have organized these meals for you, I have organized these carpools, if you don't need them, that's fine, you can call them off, or you can put it in your freezer,
Yeah.
but these things are done for you.
Next, you say, always let friends know that you are thinking about them, but you say be specific.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So this is like when you're dropping off a cookie, or all these things are so helpful. But one thing I experienced recently is when my friends would write a letter and say something like, I love this about your son, or I love this about your motherhood. These are specific things that I know about you that I really cherish. Or when my husband lost his mom, some of the most impactful things for him, or when someone would write and say, I heard your mom talk about you once, and she said she loved this about you, or you have your mother's eyes. Those things, it's like, you know they're true, or deep down inside you hope they're true. And when someone sees that in you and specifically tells you, it feels like a big hug and a big release of whatever you're carrying.
I have a friend, Michelle, who is so good at this, drawing out those specifics. And you know they come from a sincere place, and you know she's invested in studying you and caring about you, and it means so much. Finally, remember, it's not about you.
Yes, and I think so, it's good to remember that everybody deals with things differently. And unless you've been through it, you don't even know what it feels like, and they may not deal with it differently. For instance, some people might get very short-tempered, or some people might be distant. I sort of pull back and disappear from my life. And one of the kindest things people can do for me is just hold grace for me.
Yes.
When I forget their birthday during that time, or when I don't answer texts or phone calls, you know, just a note to say, hey, I'm thinking of you, and it's not even, and I can see you getting emotional, and I feel
Sorry, you just
emotional
hit a
about
chord.
it.
It's so true, isn't it?
It's really true. And I think just the grace and the space that people hold for you to thrash and to deal with and to come to terms with these things is such a kindness that we forget, with no expectations, unconditionally, with no need for returned phone calls or thank you notes, but just, I'm thinking of you.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes, I love you.
I love you.
Whew, thanks for bringing that heart to this conversation. I think everyone can connect with this in one way or the other, and you've given us some great ways to march forward with full heart and full love for those ladies and those women and those friends that we love so dearly. Kelly, thank you so much.
Thanks.